Story 1. How constant everything is. Dishes, bills, errands, emails, laundry, it never ends. I thought adulthood was about achieving stability, but it is mostly just managing an endless to-do list while trying not to burn out. Story 2. How expensive everything is. Healthcare, housing, home maintenance and repairs, cell phones, transportation, etc. Then you somehow need to be able to invest and save so that you can achieve the dream of hopefully retiring someday. Story 3. How quickly time seems to pass after your teenage years. Every week of my youth could fill a book. Entire months of adulthood go by with seemingly nothing to show for it. Story 4. The devastating job market. Unfortunately, we have moved on with a different applicant. Every single email. Story 5. Poverty. Nobody prepared me for working 48 to 60-hour weeks only to continue barely keeping my head above water with a paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle that barely functions. I have parents who say, "Pull yourself up by your bootstraps." I don't think they understand how completely trapped and anxious living below a certain tax bracket becomes. Story 6. Maintaining friendships as an adult is challenging. Everyone is busy, tired, or dealing with life, and it takes real effort to stay connected. Story 7. How much time and effort do you spend on pointless bureaucracy such as taxes, insurance, and contracts? You can spend an hour on the phone for technical support over a random charge on your phone bill. You may be forced to mail documents to your insurance provider because they decided your health savings account purchase was illegitimate. You have to organize your life around systems that are deliberately designed to be difficult because they hope you will give up. There is no obvious benefit or gain for you. It is time and effort you cannot spare for no perceivable gain. Story 8. The stillness of everything. Not getting excited about things. As a teenager, I was used to excitement from music, books, series, movies, new friends, school, and so on. Now it is just, oh, that movie coming out might be okay. At best. Story 9. That I am supposed to get it together always. I just want to break down and cry, but then I will not be taken seriously. Story 10. My wife is leaving me. The silence is so loud. And honestly, talking with other people just makes me miss her more and more. She was my best friend. Story 11. Having had no help or support from my family, I grew up with parents who received a lot of help from their family. Story 12. Having no money. Watching all your friends go to college and get married while you struggle and isolate. Story 13. The rise of fascism during a massive economic downturn coincided with a mass extinction event. I try to stay calm, but I suppose I am just a whiny baby. I am actually quite sad. Story 14. Consequences of my actions. You really cannot prepare someone for the choices they make. Pregnancies, drugs, crimes, and accidents have long-lasting impacts. Story 15. 1. Eating is genuinely a struggle, as others have mentioned. The constant task of figuring out what to eat, what to cook, grocery shopping, and more, while also managing work and other chores, is exhausting. Loneliness is another significant issue. One of the greatest changes I've noticed is that no one really asks how you're doing anymore, which makes you feel somewhat alone. I remember growing up when, if someone was upset, friends would immediately offer support and ask what was wrong. Now, it's often just a bunch of, hope things get better. It's almost the weekend. Story 16. My dad died when I was 20 in a plane crash, and I was living away from home at the time. I remember saying over and over again, I do not know what to do. Story 17. Life itself. It is hard being an adult. The constant worry about everything, paying bills, health issues, my parents getting old, and not having energy. Fake friends. Mostly worrying about our children and their future. It absolutely breaks your heart seeing them struggle. And you know you have to let them go through it. You have to let them fail and get up. But it is so difficult. Also, realizing that people only care about themselves and their own finances. They say they care for the environment, for minorities, for the disenfranchised. Then they vote against our interests. I hate it here so much. Story 18. One day you want to go outside and play and enjoy life. Then one day you just do not, and you do not know why. I look outside and think about all the times I could not bear to be indoors in my teenage years. I long to have that motivation and energy again, but I do not. So I go upstairs and rest or read instead. It is not depression, it is just getting older and being tired in general. Yes, it is relaxing, but I feel like I am missing out on things because I just do not have the energy anymore. Story 19. Planning a funeral. I have been to funerals before, but it feels different when you are planning a loved one's. Story 20. How tough it can be to go back to work and carry on after something really difficult happens. Story 21. How expensive the boring and necessary items are. Toilet paper, laundry detergent, dishwashing pods, rubbish bins, olive oil, deodorant. Where is my fun, necessary stuff money? I do not know. Had to buy olive oil and dishwashing pods. Ask again next month. Story 22. You are never caught up on all the housework. It is impossible. Something always needs to be wiped down, and I am sick of it. Story 23. Bro, no one prepared me for how exhausting it is to decide what to eat. Like for real, every single day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, over and over again until you die. There is no pause button. There is no skip meal option like in video games. As a kid, food just showed up. Someone figured it out. But now you wake up and think, do I cook? Do I order? Or do I just give up? And when you do cook, congratulations, you made a meal, and now you have dishes, crumbs, oil all over the stove, existential dread, and somehow you are still hungry 2 hours later. And if you live with someone, the conversation goes like this. What do you want to eat? I do not know. What do you want? I asked you first. I am fine with anything. Okay, pizza? No, not pizza. Honestly, I would rather file taxes blindfolded than go through that again. No class or adult ever warned me that food would be a daily mental breakdown trigger. I thought bills would be the worst part. No, it is deciding whether I want rice or just give up and eat toast again. Story 24. Divorce. It's okay to leave. It is also okay to grieve and not be okay even though you left because you were scared. Story 25. Adults still behaving like children. It is so common and very frustrating. I cannot be the only person that grew up. Story 26. The majority of people you will meet in your lifetime lack basic common sense and problem-solving skills, and they read at a 6th grade level. Story 27. Being alone. I am almost 24 and I have only one really solid friend other than my mother, who I own a house with. I am not really friends with anyone I work with. If I left this job, they would definitely not contact me anymore. I am out of college, so all my college friends do not talk to me anymore. My one friend lives almost 2 hours away, and yes, I can go see her, but only if our schedules line up. If my mother is out somewhere or doing something with a friend, I am alone the entire time with no one to talk to. Sometimes it is nice, but over spring break, I was home alone for the entire week and felt incredibly lonely and bored. Story 28. How much harder it is to get mental health help. It was hard under 18, but as an adult, it is almost impossible. Story 29. Become parents to your own parents and watch them lose themselves bit by bit. I don't think anyone could have prepared me for this one, though. Story 30. Death of a spouse. On top of the spiritual, mental, and physical pain is the cold, hard fact that you cannot ask them even the simplest questions. Story 31. Infertility and cancer in your 30s. Something is off. I know many people, especially women, who are getting types of cancer in their 30s that we do not even screen for until age 40 and above. There is also widespread infertility starting in the early 30s. I know many couples who had a hard time conceiving or needed in vitro fertilization in their early 30s. For a generation that does not really smoke and drinks far less than previous generations, we are surprisingly sick. Story 32. Taxes. How expensive pillows and mattresses are. The errands. The constant cleaning of the house that never ends. Story 33. Authorities, forms, and official language. Seriously, nobody in their right mind understands that. The terms are not clearer than common words. Want an example? What is more precise than the word tree? Story 34. Losing my buttocks. Not financially, but physically. Once I hit 60, it disappeared. I walk every day, bike ride, and so on. It is only a matter of time before my pants fall down in a store. Story 35. 40% of the population has no empathy for anyone but themselves. They are also deeply bigoted and ignorant. Story 36. People you love grow old, become ill, and pass away. Sometimes it takes a long time. Other times, you are the only one who can care for them. It drains the life out of you. Story 37. The gradual but very noticeable shift from feeling young to feeling old. Bones start breaking, and areas of your body begin hurting in ways you did not realize were possible. Story 38. All the grieving you will experience as an adult includes loss of friends, loss of family members, and loss of identity at times. Story 39. I thought things like bullying would stop after high school. They do not, though. Particularly if you are neurodiverse, the workplace can be even worse. Story 40. You can be in great pain just because your head missed the perfect spot on your pillow by half an inch. Story 41. Leaving for work in the dark, coming home from work in the dark, and having to do 100 things just so you can go to bed and do it all again tomorrow. Story 42. Making adult friends is really hard. People are usually very busy because life gets in the way, and maintaining adult friendships is difficult. Story 43. Caring for your parents. As you are getting older, so are they. I never imagined the day when my father is in hospice care and I am 31. Story 44. Day in, day out, you live with the tedious routine of waking up, going to work, trying to get things done at home, eating, going to sleep, and repeating it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Before you know it, you are measuring time in decades. Vast amounts of time have passed, and you find yourself in your 40s, thinking that life has gone by in the blink of an eye, with most of it a blur. Then it hits you. You realize that if the first half of your life went that fast, it will be another blink of an eye before your life is over. Congratulations, you are now in your midlife crisis and start to wonder when you can actually retire to get back to fully enjoying life and filling your free time with as much joy and experience as possible. Story 45. You have to renew everything at varying intervals of time. Driver's license, car inspection, car registration, insurance, Microsoft Office. You do not own anything, and you are just renting almost every aspect of your life. Story 46. I just spent $22 on the stiffest and cheapest set of bed sheets because I had to get a new set. It made me want to cry. Story 47. You no longer have just one problem at a time. As a child or teenager, you typically deal with one major issue, such as final exams, a breakup, a severe illness, or family problems. You can often shut down other parts of your life temporarily and focus on that single issue. When I first became an adult, I thought I was just prone to constant problems. Then I realized that is just real life. Story 48. How much items are going to cost, and that you are not always going to be able to rely on your support system. Story 49. Locking down your credit. There was zero discussion or preparation for this, not only from my family but also in education, either high school or college. Last year, someone tried to use my information to buy a very expensive car. One of the banks they applied to for financing was vigilant and caught it, which prompted me to take action to prevent it from happening again. I found out that you can lock down your credit completely or nearly so through the 3 major credit reporting agencies. You can then unlock it when you need to finance something. How often do you actually use your credit to finance something? A car? A house? You can easily unlock it for a set period and relock it afterward. I have no idea why this is not the default setting for everyone's personal credit. Actually, I do know why, but I do not understand why educators and parents are not teaching their children to do this early on. Lock your credit down and only unlock it when absolutely necessary. Not only does this make you nearly invulnerable to identity and credit fraud, but it also helps prevent poor spending decisions. Story 50. How expensive family vacations are. After I took my children out of town for a couple of days, I called my father and thanked him for the vacations I experienced. I was surprised by how expensive family trips can be. I have also learned how to budget and find deals, but a week away still adds up. Story 51. In my mind, I am still in my prime, but my body is like a used car. It is still pretty reliable but requires regular maintenance, and if I push it, something is going to break. Story 52. Workplace pettiness. I once received a human resources complaint for not attending a coworker's dinner party. Then there was the time another coworker insisted I use his organic coffee for the coffee maker in my office. Story 53. Honestly, having to deal with doctor appointments, dentists, taxes, and all of these things is challenging. Health insurance is important. God forbid I get seriously injured. I cannot afford that, and I cannot afford to miss work either. Being an adult is difficult. Story 54. I have to work every day on easing my anxiety. I am constantly managing my anxiety and struggling to overcome it. I need to learn to pick myself up every day. Story 55. Trying to help your adult children keep their belongings organized. I had all the answers when you were 9, friend. Now we are all equally inexperienced. Story 56. Trying to make phone calls while working is challenging. I am lucky to get a 15-minute break in the morning, 1 hour for lunch, and another 15 minutes in the afternoon. Often, I try to resolve issues through email because I cannot sit on hold for 30 minutes or more without being late to work. If I cannot resolve the issue through email, I either skip lunch or eat too quickly to ensure I do not have a mouthful when I finally get a real person on the phone. Story 57. Maintenance involves taking care of various items such as the car, the living space, and finances. Can be exhausting. Story 58. The coping mechanisms you learned as a child to survive no longer serve you in the same way. Instead, they tend to hurt you now. Story 59. I lost my firstborn son in 2001. In 2021, I lost my daughter. She had 4 children. It hit me like a ton of bricks both times. I was totally unprepared. Story 60. The whole system is a trap, a rat race. By the time you realize, past decisions have already locked you in. There is no easy way out of this madness. Story 61. The steps involved in dealing with the end of life of a loved one and the scams that others may attempt during that vulnerable moment. Story 62. Having to coexist with other adults who want nothing more than to see you suffer. Having to smile and greet someone who would not help you in an emergency. Having family members who choose racist propaganda over the health and well-being of their children. And then having to be nice to them at Christmas. Story 63. There is never enough time to finish everyday chores or enjoy hobbies because work must come first to survive. Story 64. How lonely it is. All of my old friends are either busy building their lives, and the ones who are not busy building their lives I do not really find worth being around anymore. Story 65. I was born into a cult, so I would be starting completely over at 30 as a single parent to 3 children with no real-life experience outside of the cult. Story 66. The decision fatigue from things like eating is real. Oh my gosh, I have to make or select dinner every day and then pay for it. And it happens 3 times a day on average. Absolutely exhausting. Story 67. How terrible roommates are and how many of them will tell you on the 27th that they are short on rent. Story 68. They all lied about the rules and how we are supposed to act. The majority of people do not follow basic childhood principles. Most also have an "I got mine, forget you" attitude. Story 69. I was wholly unprepared for the never-ending task of feeding myself, or how much of my day would be spent talking about, thinking about, and shopping for what, when, and where to eat. There have been entire days where I never left the kitchen. I would get up and make breakfast for my husband, we would eat, he would go to work, I would clean up, wash dishes, put dishes away, and then, God help me if we had guests over, I would begin preparations for dinner. Start chopping, peeling, marinating, prepping, simmering, letting bread rise, and so on. Then after I served everyone, my husband would have to tell me to stop cleaning and come eat with our guests. I just want to eat 1 meal per day and have that be enough. Damn it. Story 70. Company. Please pay your bill now. You are 1 week late. We need the payment immediately. You pays the bill. Company and bank account. Please wait 15 to 20 days for your payment to be processed and reflected in your bank statement. Story 71. How can a 29-year-old build a house? It is challenging out there. Inflation is hitting us hard. Story 72. Self-regulating my emotions. Or maybe that is what they were preparing me for all along. Hard to tell anymore. Story 73. Keeping track of everything is challenging. My login and password list is probably 30 or more entries long. Bills, insurance, maintenance, groceries, medical, dental, shopping, pets. Story 74. My teenagers think I am an idiot and they never listen to me. Then they mess around and find out that I was right. If they had just listened, they could have spared themselves a great deal of heartbreak and frustration. What is worse, 30 years ago I acted exactly the same way. Story 75. Hidden expectations. Even when someone says they are not expecting anything from you, they are literally expecting things from you. It took me years to understand how my behavior literally hurts people without realizing it. That is my problem. No one prepared me for it. Story 76. Emptying the vacuum. Why does no one empty it after using it? It drives me crazy when the vacuum clogs 2 minutes into using it. Story 77. Wages would stagnate and the cost of living would constantly increase, meaning that although I am earning more than my parents were at my age, I am in real terms much worse off and cannot do half the things they could with a larger family. There is no end in sight before the grave. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.